Hello, thought I'd do a bit of a follow-up from the initial review of the 2021 Honda 450. I'm 20 hours deep into the bike now, so some things have improved. I've learned the bike a little bit more. Obviously a lot of it is really impressive. Some of it I've ended up swapping and improving. I've got no direct connection with Honda, so you know, it's not biased at all. It's just an honest John approach and just a little bit more of an insight to the bike now that we've actually tested some things. This year's obviously looking a little bit different to standard trim. You see we've got some blingy wheels, we've got the HGS system, really impressive, which matches up with the Vertex, but I'll get into that in a moment. So on the initial review, suspension wise, it settled very soft, especially on the rear shock. It was bottoming on some of the takeoffs even and landings. So we've got K-Tech on board for this year, so we've tried a couple of different options. We ended up actually going a bit too stiff on the forks, which caused other little issues, and then backed it back a little bit. We've got Tommy Searle obviously testing with those guys as well, so we're reaching some progress really quickly, but definitely put some time into that before anything else, because that's where your comfort comes from. When you're comfortable, you end up going faster, it's safer. Yeah, definitely just a little bit firmer front and rear, just to hold it up when you hit big jumps, maybe come up short and all that sort of stuff. So something that jumped out to me straight away was the standard foot pegs and how slippy they were. We've got these ones on now. Alfie Collette hooked us up with these, he's bringing them in. Nice and grippy, lightweight, cheap replacement that made the world of difference for me. And something quite small and easy to replace, but the seat cover as standard was super slippy, so when you was trying to hold your body weight sort of up here, you cracked the throttle on the 450, found it was just trying to slime you back. But this one gripper seat, a sponsor of mine now, you can see how grippy that is, and again I found a massive improvement with that, just to hold me in position when I get nice and aggressive on that throttle, so I'd recommend that. So again, from the first review, I was really impressed with the power and the spread of power on the stock bike. So that was fully stock pipe, ignition, didn't even play around with the ignition settings, and it's already good, but I could tell that maybe up top over the over rev we could improve that a little bit. So we've got the Vertex ignition with the HGS exhaust mapped by Multitech, and it's just giving it the same nice usable power, but just a little bit more. You obviously have the option to change that to however you want it. If you want it even slower than standard, they can put a map in for that. As long as you've got the right person setting it up on the dyno. The Vertex ignition is working so good with the HGS pipe. Interestingly, the ignition is actually situated in this little box here behind the mud flap. So if you are testing at the track, it is hard because you have to remove that cover, remove the side panels just here. It becomes a bit of a 5 to 10 minute job. I'm sure there's a way around that, a different routing option. And just from the sort of stories I've heard in Hondas in the past, I'm super impressed with the clutch. I've done, like I say, nearly 20 hours now on the standard clutch. It's still got a good bite point, there's no slip whatsoever. This is obviously the hydraulic system. I'm not sure if people are as fussy as I am with handlebars, but on my first initial review, that's one of the first things that I changed. 827 fat bar, like you can see it's fairly low, nice and wide. That'll give you a bit of an indication to the angle that I run the bars as well. A little clip of the bike and a bit of better light so you can see it with the colours. Let me know what you think in the comments. And lastly, another little thing I've had to play with is just going at one tooth on the rear sprocket from a 49, which is standard, to a 50. The reason being, second's nice and snappy, third just nice and smooth, but if you're keeping a lot of speed, you've got that option for third gear. Obviously that's dependent on your sort of riding ability, how much speed you carry and all the rest of it, but yeah, just going up that one on the rear just allow me to use third gear a little bit more, which I really like. So generally just little changes on a already good bike. So there's not a lot wrong with the standard package. Foot pegs, seat cover a bit slippy, very minimal stuff. Yeah, great bike, getting on it with it really well. It's definitely the best 450 I've ever rode. 20 hours, no issues. I think we had a fuse go down, just a silly little fuse that we swapped, you get a spare one. Piston, everything, clutch, bang on, 20 hours. We just change the oil every 2 to 3 rides, hit the button and away we go.